just like in the movies.
Welcome to SuperWonder Legacy. I am Jared. I am here with Britt. What's up, Britt?
Hello, hello.
And today we are discussing Black Adam and before I say this name, I know that I mean the character, and Isis, otherwise known as Adriana Tomas. I have to say that because unfortunately this is the world we live in. But so let's hey, what's up, Cameron and TJ? So we're going to be discussing Black Adam and Isis. So Britt, how familiar were you before this with the characters?
Black Adam was just from like New 52 or little iterations like that. And hearing The Rock talk about Adam all the time of wanting to adapt the character. So it was just a hearing here and there, but never actually read 52. And then Isis, yeah, I just thought she was just his wife, nothing um really in depth of her character.
Yeah, she is like they're like a very interesting group of people, and again, it's like so, Black Adam is one of those characters where if done, he's basically in many ways he's like DC's version of the Punisher. So because he's like particularly recent years, he's one of those characters that started off as like a supervillain, but later grew into a an anti-hero like of the highest order, and it's really cool seeing it's like say what you want about like the Rock about the Rock and stuff, but at the very least he did really like hype up who Black Adam kind of is.
I think he did capture the character, and he did embody the character. Yes, it was The Rock, as he does in most of his roles, but you can feel that he was very sincere, and he wanted to, make the character work and make him seem imposing and powerful, whether he is to be ultimately a villain or an anti-hero.
Yeah, so you know what he did to like hype up the movie. What he did is so at San Diego Comic-Con, he had this thing where he dressed up in the costume, had cranes lift him up, and lightning going in the background.
Exactly. That was actually pretty fun. I mean, the hype, and with him also hyping that he wanted to bring Henry back and everything like that. That's what I'm saying. He wanted to genuinely bring back, the love for DC, the hype for the movies and everything. I mean, it was a mess, so it was a lot of stumbles. I think that honestly, comparing The Rock to James Gunn as of now, I would say that yes, The Rock had his ego, and he did think of himself as the center. He wanted, Black Adam as the center. But the fact that they had that plan, though, of knowing exactly what movies they wanted to have and the storylines to adapt, they, was wanting to build to Black Adam versus Superman,
Exactly.
and also adapt Kingdom Come in some way, which we'll talk about later. But also, um, just in giving the Justice League, a little bit more. If it weren't for Zack Snyder's Justice League coming out, it was kind of like a redemption from the Whedon version.
Mm-hmm.
And then versus James Gunn right now, yeah, the Superman movie, is very much that popcorn fun. It's kind of like you have to have your standards
It's
lowered and
surface level.
everything. Right, very surface level, very just dipping your little toe in. And but from his interactions and his talk, it's like, I don't know yet. I don't, it's like you don't really have a plan.
You
And
should
he's just
know. You should know yet.
right. And it's kind of like he's just making stuff up for now. I
He
mean,
is.
in when you read between the lines, especially when how he said that Wonder Woman wasn't a priority until he was told to, basically, and it's probably by Zaslav. So now Wonder Woman is priority, and then he doesn't know if if uh she and the Flash are even, whether they are 3 years you know, debuted as Superman with season one of Peacemaker, or are they going to debut a little bit later? So
Hmm.
you have a Superman that's probably going to be about another, uh, he would probably be 5 years in, and then you have the other Justice Leaguers like in their year one. I
Hmm.
mean, it's all right, but honestly, and we have, in New 52, Diana was 4 years younger than Clark, so it makes sense. But at the same time, it just feels like the fact that you don't know where these characters are and how they are going to interact, how are they going to debut, appear, how are you going to put them together? And whether he's saying, I don't know, just for PR reasonings of, I know, but I'm going to say that, or it's you really don't know and you're just making stuff up along, because James Gunn has this thing where he loves the C through Z list, characters,
Oh yeah.
and he wants to um put them at the forefront,
Yeah,
at the expense of
exactly.
their A-listers. With The Rock, it felt like, yeah, he was putting Black Adam at the forefront, like I said, but at the same time, he still wanted to center around the A-listers
And
coming together.
Superman.
Right. He wanted them to still come together and be the Justice League and defeat Black Adam,
And we'll talk
whatever.
about that. But Randy says instead of taking shots at the new for 52, what better way to stick it to us fake fans than to let the two opposing visions compete against each other via open market and see which one's better? Yeah, Randy, that makes sense from a business perspective, but ego's got in the way. Anyway,
Exactly. And
yeah, yeah.
also, they didn't want to have New 52 and Rebirth compete. You already had the Convergence spinoff, the Superman Lois and Clark book, and that bombed. So in with Tomasi, torpedoing Superman and Wonder Woman, that book still, it it held on by a very thin thread, but it held on. So no, they did not want to have competing books, because it was going to show that ultimately your past or whatever, the fans don't really care for it. And
Exactly.
but so they had to just shove it, in your face, down your throat, or whatever, that even Tomasi said, this is a Superman you were supposed to love and accept.
Yeah,
So
and I'm like, screw you. That's the second time that man has told us, no, you should like this, and I reply, enjoy your flops anyway. So
right.
the hierarchy of power, I had to, I just had to, Britt. So what's cool about this, isn't it kind of funny how many relationships DC has that are royal relationships like this, Aquaman and Mira, etc. So it's kind of cool to see how that works. So the
But
thing
isn't
about,
that like
yeah.
eugenics?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. How is this okay? But it is really funny doing all these couples comparisons. And Britt, you brought this up when we decided to start doing these. You really see the massive hypocrisy of the fan base. Like with this, it's like, oh, they're the two most powerful creature, the two most powerful heroes. How about this? This is okay, isn't it?
Right. They You have Aquaman and Mira. They are royalty. They are powerful. I mean, control of the sea.
Mm-hmm.
you know, so that is something they have. Aqua babies.
Mm-hmm.
So isn't that eugenics? Like,
Yeah,
you
exactly. That
know,
looked just like them. Isn't it really funny? And then Parker says it's bad. It's really bad business move for sure, and kills the brand as well. Yeah, exactly. And we'll talk a little bit about that when we get to the movie portion, because you better believe Britt and I are going to talk about the Black Adam movie. How does Isis feel that she was enslaved and is now married to a ruthless ruler, often portrays it? We'll talk about that, Battlegoon. We'll talk about that. So, okay. Now, the other thing that I want to talk about this couple is that she also serves in many ways. I'm going to call her Adriana because I don't want YouTube to tag my video. Adriana, what she actually does, she's the opposite of Injustice Wonder Woman in that she like softens Black Adam and like makes him happy and then eventually turns him in many ways away from being straight up a villain, and it's also a response to Battle Good. And I'll show you in a bit because there's a lot to talk about there. Oh,
Right.
and
That's
real quick, Cameron has the thing. I could see fans saying it's because they're the same race in response to Black Adam and Adriana and Arthur and Mira, which is yikes. Oh, you better believe the racist fans are going to say that.
which really doesn't make sense because they them being of the same race or whatever, but they claim Clark and Diana are sibling coded or it's incest or something if they are together. But you have an Amazon and an alien. So,
Mm-hmm.
it's yeah, as we um explore these relationships and do the comparison, yeah, the double standard and everything is very clear. And it really doesn't make any sense because some of these relationships are very toxic. They have terrible, the stories aren't as profound as some fans make them seem. You have some of the female characters that are just used for the male, perspective and the she's the support and she's not the equal. Where you have Clark and Diana's relationship that's built on equality. If you don't have them as equals, you don't have the story. And that was the problem with Tomasi, with saying that Diana is intimidating and she demanded the spotlight. Well, duh. That's
You're
the
writing
point.
Wonder Woman, bro. Of course.
Right. But these other characters, other female characters are in a relationship with the quote unquote alpha male, you know, they are sidelined. You have Nightwing and Oracle, Batgirl, Barbara Gordon. She is now just a supporting character kind of for Nightwing. She doesn't have her independence. Black Canary, she's stuck with the Arrow family. Um, Starfire, some of her fans only think of her for as Nightwing's girlfriend. That's it. Um, and who else? Mira, right now, she has been turned into an old woman. She's half dead or something, and Jeremy Adams doesn't really have any care for her character, and that's the perspective because he only cares for Arthur. With Diana, you can't do that. Even Lois had they didn't know what to do with her. They gave her powers, a very superficial storyline as Superwoman, and now she's nowhere. They gave her the Perry's job as editor in chief for the Daily Planet, and nothing.
As I expected that would go for. But
Right?
anyway, so as we advance, so what's so the thing about like about these characters, it's like see the thing is like again difference with these two is that Superman and Wonder Woman have been a close thing since like Golden Age or like when they first started showing up. These two have been together since like I believe she was created in Post Crisis. So well, this version of the character, as we'll see later. But yeah, it was like for the Post Crisis thing. And again, it's like when you actually think about it, these two both are like pairs of protectors because again it's just like instead of protecting an entire planet, Black Adam protects an entire country.
Exactly. And that's another thing. I mean, it's how is this okay that you have a powerful couple that their whole thing is protecting their country? Clark and Diana, their bond is protecting the world or the universe. and it's being misconstrued as, oh, one day they are going to turn into injustice, the injustice iterations and take over the world, or
Hmm.
it, or being together they lose their humanity and stuff like that. But where is it actually shown that, their conversations have always been written to be about protecting the world. The Power Couple book, uh, Charles Sewell. First of all, you got to give credit because he was an immigration lawyer, so he understood that outsider aspect of both and how to really handle their different perspective of Clark being so closed off because he and hiding himself in a way because that's how he lived. That but then Diana, she is so much more open to celebrating herself because she lives within her culture. So that helping each other realize that no, he's not so much as being ashamed. He's just, there's a fear that he has to get over.
Yeah,
Or Diana,
exactly.
she has to understand that, yeah, it's lovely to celebrate your culture and everything like that, but the world is going to be judgmental. And at sometimes you have to calm down just a little bit, and but still be yourself.
Exactly.
So with that, how is that taking away humanity? If anything, that makes Clark and Diana even more human. It's not them being romantically linked to humans, which we've talked about a multitude of times, that being human means being American, and that is such a xenophobic and borderline racist type, sub subtext within the stories, but that's basically what that is. Um, and I mean, you even see it in the new Superman movie that with turning, his parents evil just for him to, uh, continue to say he's human because he borderlines or halfway rejects his Kryptonian roots just because of his parents.
Yeah.
When that was actually the motivation for him to be Superman, you take half of that away.
Which, by the way, so it's kind of funny in light of like the Superman movie doing so great domestically and not so great internationally. It's now been rechristened Domestic Man.
Well, I mean, first of all, you have the marketing just hell bent on the whole it's about him being American. So that is not going to give international fans, that feeling of being seen, or, just that global acceptance. Is not because you are glorifying America when, as we've talked about, America is quite flawed. So you have to have these characters as the global icons as they should be and be more neutral about it. The
Exactly.
whole truth, justice, and the human way is even worse. Like, just don't
Here's the
have that.
thing. Yeah, don't even say it at all. It's not like Superman says it that much in the modern movies. He said it in the Reeves movies, but besides that, if they didn't say anything, it's like what when they changed his motto in the comics. Here's why that was stupid. He doesn't say it at all in the comics.
I mean, you have some writers like Tomasi,
Oh yeah,
where yeah, you do have some writers that want to continue on with the conservatism in that way, and in order to prevent that, and they had to change it, which is understandable, but yeah, they've even Jeremy Adams for the Super Sons movie, he was definitely strong on having Superman say truth, justice, and the American way. He is one of the writers that would have Superman say that on a slide, or just outright not caring, and wants that type of um, Superman as the rah rah America poster boy. And
yeah. It's like with me, I prefer to just the American way, but that's just because of like the history, what that means for the character. Now, I'm not saying say it every single goddamn sentence. I'm just
Right.
saying, look, from the historical perspective of the character, you might as well just leave it and not even talk about it. That's it. Just don't even address it. It's that simple.
Right. And we
But whatever.
need and we need like these characters to be global
Hmm.
icons. They can't just be specifically um you know, marketed for just one country.
Oh, and, and trust me, we'll talk about that when we get to what Greg Rucka said this time. It's quite a statement. So anyway, so there's this. So the thing about Superman and Wonder Woman is, and with Black Adam and Isis. So here's the thing about this. Here's where The Rock was kind of correct, and I see what he's going for. Black Adam is very powerful, and compared to Superman, in some ways, he is more powerful because of magic and stuff. The problem is that I love where The Rock tried to say that Black Adam was the most powerful force on Earth, and I go, I don't think so. But I get what he's going for. He's trying to like hype it up. Whereas when you have Superman and Wonder Woman, and actually Wonder Woman has a lot in common with Black Adam because in addition to being like a defender of the world, she is like a defender or an ambassador, or in some continuities, the monarch of Themyscira. So I get, so there's like a lot of similarities between these two characters. Whereas when you get to like, it's like Black Adam and Adriana, yeah, this version of Adriana that we're talking about, in many ways, probably the reason why I think that she was so soft and why she like softened Black Adam is because he grew up, is that he existed having his power, but she existed first as a slave, the very absence of power. So she appreciated how to properly use it to help people.
Exactly. And that's not to say still that that's the twisted thing because that also gives basically the ammunition in a way of if you give a human powers, then they will still ground the character that has naturally had powers, like um how some fans are okay with Lois gaining powers because she's still a human or she was a human, so she can still have that supposed element of grounding Superman, which is still BS to me. Um, so no, that is why I really don't like that idea of any character needing to be grounded in that sense. A villain, if if you want to turn the villain into an anti-hero and they change their ways, be redeemed, that's fine. But a hero, a natural hero like Superman, and having to be grounded, no, I don't like that implication.
Yeah, exactly. And it's oddly xenophobic. I know someone had issues with that tweet, but it's screw you anyway. But yeah, but yeah, I definitely it is really cool. And also, like TJ brings up a good point. It isn't Black Adam similar to Doctor Doom. Black Adam is a more benevolent Doctor Doom because Doctor Doom still does some evil stuff for in the interest of his people, but Black Adam is more like if you stay away from us, we'll stay away from you. Because Doom always tries and takes over the world. Adam is just like, no, just don't screw with Kondak, and I got no problems with you. So I'm like, okay, cool. That,
Exactly.
that's kind of the way it works. And it's like even in Doomsday Clock, Adam is more like this. My country is a safe haven for metahumans. Besides that, leave us alone. And I will not. In many ways, Black Adam is isolationist until you provoke him,
Exactly.
as we will see in this one. Because trust me, this gets really good. So, in terms of like thematical differences, obviously Superman and Wonder Woman. Well, for one thing, Superman and Wonder Woman are not as like, let's say, brutal, despite what Tom Taylor and Injustice will make you believe. But they're more of the like positive versions of superheroes and stuff. And here's the thing: in many ways, it's like Adriana is also similar to to like Injustice Lois, hear me out, because her death later on leads to Adam going completely nuts, as we will show later. It's got some really dope moments in this, but it's like Black Adam and Adriana basically symbolize the like guilt and like the idea of wrath and tempering your because basically Adriana was like, look, Adam, you're doing a good thing trying to protect your people. It's just maybe not do it while aiming a gun at the world.
Exactly. And I don't need the codependency of these relationships.
Mhm.
You can guide each other. You can have each other's backs. You can, support each other and everything like that. But the codependency and the mental, and emotional crutch, in relationships, I can't stand, because a person just shouldn't be that emotionally attached where they basically are like robotic and they need someone to tell them what to do. They need someone to hold them and tell them right for wrong. You are a grown person. You need to already know right from wrong. And just that idea that, oh, if Lois dies, then Superman will go berserk. That's not romantic. That's honestly just saying that deep down, he is not a good person. And you
Mhm.
don't want to throw the most iconic superhero that is supposed to be of humbleness, respect, this inspiration, as, oh, he only cares for one person. And if she dies or something happens to her, first of all, he does not care for humanity. He doesn't care for anything, and he will turn into a tyrant. Terrible, terrible promise. Um, and so with Black Adam, I would say you can have that with him because he was a villain at first,
Yeah.
and he needed that someone to redeem him. But other than that, I do not like that trope. They are trying to do that with Wonder Woman and Steve. We already
Mhm.
had that with DCEU, and now with Tom King. And it's just a shame that the two most inspirational characters, are in this type of situation of being codependent and just downright terrible people if they aren't with these human love interests.
Exactly. Oh my god. So then we get to the similarities between the two pairings. Obviously, they're both like ridiculously powerful couples, like literally power couples. And when you think about it, actually, both kind of have like the element of being like outsiders or being, in Black Adam's case, weary of outsiders, if you will.
Right. And also, you have Isis and Diana, who their role is to be the moral compass, but not the emotional crutch.
Mhm.
I Adriana, maybe she is the emotional crutch, but Diana is not. She's more of the moral compass, just to tell Clark, hey, maybe you need to just look at it at a different perspective of things, like in Kingdom Come. It's some things that we have to do as heroes, but it's not going to define us in that way of hurting our reputation. And even if we have to do things and make sacrifices, that's what we do. And it's also a political exploration because, Black Adam, they are trying to protect their country. Clark and Diana are trying to protect the world, not just as superheroes, but also as a reporter and an ambassador, which is again something that's quite ignored because you can have this conflict, or this perspective of Clark and Diana being the reporter and the ambassador. Clark, he uses his the power of the media, of people reading his words. Diana, she has a voice. She can address, have, press conferences, summits, and everything like that. We saw. I don't really like to reference Phil Jimenez run so much anymore, or even, Greg Rucka. But the first run of Rucka with Diana as ambassador, that
It was
emphasis,
better.
it was good. Um, her writing a book and Clark being her editor, that was good. Phil Jimenez showing Diana being the ambassador and having the embassy going uh, all around the world to help. Basically being like Princess Diana, you know, that was good, and we need more of that.
I
But
would not be surprised if that's like where if Princess Diana is who Jimenez got his inspiration from.
probably, but yeah, that is a story that honestly should have already been written for Clark and Diana. But yeah, there is a political exploration that needs to be, and that is something, um, as I said, that works for um, Adriana and um, Black Adam as well.
Yeah, exactly. So then we get to what makes them different, obviously. Well, Black Adam's more of an anti-hero, and Clark, even when he was the new 52 Superman, despite what detractors will tell you, he was not like a like a grim dark person. I don't trust the Superman fandom on talking about grim dark stuff because it's like they obviously don't know what they're talking about. And also, here's the thing: the differences that SuperWonder has with practically every couple Britt and I have discussed on this, except for Spider-Man and Mary Jane, is the other couples have editorial support.
Exactly. The thing is, Clark and Diana, their relationship is very much in a civil war of DC. It's kind of like 50%, or however you want to divide it, is for the pairing, and then you have the rest that's basically just lazy and nostalgia, um, up in arms with nostalgia and stuff like that. And then you just have some editors that don't care about either character. So of course they're going to do what's easiest for them. And you also have the writers. The writers are really the main factor of just caring for nostalgia. You have Williamson. He is very much trying to invoke the early 2000s, and it's in such a boring way.
Mm-hmm.
You have Mark Wade with Action Comics. He's writing Superboy. He's stuck with the Silver Age type thing. He's a Silver Age fanboy. Then you have Justice League, not Justice League, Superman Unlimited, and Justice League Unlimited too. That I don't know what age that is supposed to invoke, but it's just there. The stories are, they want to have post crisis, but it's everything feels so empty. So with Clark and Diana's relationship, when you don't care for the individual characters and you have Tom King writing Diana as just a mouthpiece or whatever for his self insertion of Steve Trevor, and then you have Superman that's supposed to be post crisis hope core man, yeah, they aren't going to have that type of genuine relationship that we know them to have.
Exactly. But Cameron says, show the Superman smiling with Crypto licking his face as he's saying you should see the other guy and the argument gets destroyed, or that panel of the human laughing at Lex when he's captured. Yeah, exactly. It's like, well, also these people are post-crisis Superman fans. And even Robert will tell you, post-crisis Superman got pretty dark. I mean, he died in post-crisis. But anyway, the way now, as you and I really, as Britt and I like to say, when we talk about these characters in terms of like in terms of like modern, like the way that we can interpret them with modern stuff is like, again, the Black Adam relationship is more about like protecting one's borders from invaders, which is kind of what Adam does. And it's like Osiris, that comes later. Isis is more about like I would say mercy and maybe temperance. What do you think, Britt?
Okay, so I would say that
Oh, one more thing. They
mhm.
represent in many ways. Here's another like similarity between the two, and it works here because as it's established in the 52 weekly series Rise and Fall of an Empire, Black Adam shares his powers with Isis. So it's like it's like what a husband's supposed to share what he has with his wife, if you will.
That's a very interesting perspective, Jared. I like
Eh,
that.
thank you.
Well, okay, so with that, you explained Isis and Black Adam perfectly. Going back to Clark and Diana, is it that their relationship and foundation, as we continue to say, is about trust, and it is these perspectives that it seemed different, and honestly we have to, well, you love bringing them up anyway about the 14-year-old kiss, but
John Byrne.
but the fact that he ruined that. Yeah, they have differences, but again, it's such a double standard to say they are too different when, but then in the same breath you say, oh, opposites attract though. That doesn't make sense. How can you say that they're different and can't be together, but then advocate for opposites attract? Obviously, if Clark and Diana are the opposites, then they would be attracted to each other because she being an island girl and loving her heritage and celebrating it. Clark being a farm boy, and honestly, there's no different really because they're both nature kids. But him, needing to embrace his heritage, that is a difference, but also a complementary difference that can go together. And I love how Perez tried to basically make the most or the best of what John Byrne put a halt to. Is that Clark was so supportive of Diana, and he was the first hero I would say that she trusted the most to really open up to. She also wanted him to learn of her culture, of being the again her dream in the Eric Luke's run. She was an ambassador. She uh, the world was at peace, and Clark being the reporter, they worked together, and fell in love. So again, it all goes hand in hand of both their jobs. This is not just Superman and Wonder Woman, but it's also Clark Kent and, well, Diana of Themyscira. Some Wonder Woman fans don't really care for the Diana Prince, secret identity, and I see somewhat why. So I would just say Diana of Themyscira, the ambassador.
Yeah, I'm like, I get the. Plus, here's the thing: for the feminist, like, I um I guess perspective of what Diana represents. It's like, see, I feel like here's where I'm at in terms of the Prince thing, because the more I think about it, the thing about it is like, let's say she married Clark. Well, obviously, first, if she married Clark, Britt and I would be jumping up and down for joy. But anyway, it's like if she married Clark, it's like part of me feels like she would take his name because Diana has a respect for tradition, particularly if she's going through with the actual marriage. But part of me is also like, part of me is also well, we both know Clark would not pressure to do so, but I kind of feel like, I don't know. What do you think on that?
Diana would, because she would, but also she would still be Diana the mascara,
Mm-hmm.
obviously. And but she wouldn't mind it. Honestly, I think that they are so spiritually bound in everything that it is marriage and everything. It's a toss up with her. She doesn't really care for traditional things. She doesn't, it's kind of like, if you like it, I love it type thing. It's a, it's really, it's a toss up with her. It's not that she would disregard it. It's not that she would reject it. It's just more so that Diana is such a free spirit that she embraces anything, almost anything.
And it's kind of
That,
funny. Cameron actually has an interesting perspective. Knowing Clark, he would take her name and be Clark Kent Prince.
well, that exactly. It would probably be a reversal for sure.
Mm-hmm. That would actually work really well. That's very interesting. We may have to use that. Anyway, so with the narrative strengths, it's like because here's the thing: is like with Black Adam and Wonder Woman, you could tell a story about maybe like she's trying to negotiate an alliance with between the Themyscirans and Kahndaq. So it's like you could do a story where like they have to they have to navigate political realms and stuff, and then that's one of the things that like when done properly, mind you, um, Wonder Woman can kind of do, but you have to actually respect the character, which we all know Tom King doesn't.
Right. And we also saw that a little bit in, um, I think that was Justice League, let's see, 15, I
Mm-hmm.
want to say, when Clark and Diana um, went to save um, the hostages
Oh,
in there.
I know what you're talking about. I love the terrorist response in that. They're like, "How do we gain two hostages?"
Exactly. So, and all Diana said was she sees the beauty in the country. She sees the beauty in the world, and she just wants to, help that flourish. And she wants women and children to be safe. That's all she wants. So, with that, that can also be something explored with these two pairings. Is that Clark, he's afraid, of the government because he was tortured by the US government. So governmental stuff he doesn't really want to deal with, but Diana gives him that push not to become a tyrant or anything like that, but that push to Clark, you are supposed to be this inspiration of the world to change. And that means the government needs to change because we all are here to help each other. Every country, every, race or whatever needs to help each other to keep this world turning, basically. So, with Diana's perspective on that of wanting world global peace, then at some point they will, cross with Black Adam. And he is very territorial, but once Diana, speaks of her plan and wanting nothing more than to help, I think that he would open just a little bit for, the Justice League or something like that. But it will eventually become a conflict because the government always has to do something shady.
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of in the job description. But so now we're going to talk about the different portrayals of these characters. So we have, yeah, so this popped up on my YouTube recommendation one time. So there was and I mean the character again, I have to keep saying this, an ISIS TV show. But it's more just about it's really funny, Britt, when you go back in time and realize and like research all the DC comic shows that have existed, but no one really figured out that they were DC comic shows.
Right. This is when I just think that It's kind of like the Catwoman movie where they took liberties, and
Well,
it
that's an
was just,
understatement.
well, yeah, and it was just things that you're just adapting things that seem fun or whatever, and yeah, I did not know that this was a show with that was connected to the Shazam show. I did not know that. You just see these old shows and it wasn't something serious. It wasn't something that, oh, it has to have a continuity with it. It was just an adaptation.
Yeah, exactly. It was like it was okay. So then we get, all right, 2006, the introduction of Adrian Thomas. Okay, so here's what I was talking about. All right, so after Infinite Crisis, DC, and yes, actually, Cameron Shazam did have his own show. So after Infinite Crisis, Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman are off the table. So DC did a series which is written by Jeff Johns, Greg Rucka. Actually, you know what? I'll get the omnibus because I have that as well. It's Jeff Johns, Grant Morrison, Greg Rucka, and Mark Waid, and Keith Giffen. And what had happened was, so it's like, okay, Superman's depowered temporarily. Wonder Woman's going on a journey to like recover from like the public response to Maxwell Lord's death, and also because Jeff Johns doesn't know how to write Wonder Woman, to learn how to be human. Britt, how long roughly has Diana been in man's world at this point?
Oh, let's see. This
Well,
is for 52,
how about
2006.
how
So
about a
she's
really
probably,
long time?
yeah, she's probably 20 years actually.
And remember, this is a Diana that has also lost her powers and like been a spy, been a fry cook. I'm pretty sure that makes her human. So anyway, and Batman was like recovering and learning to trust people again because that's always Batman's arc. So their idea was, okay, so let's do a series called 52, and the reason why it's called that is because it was an issue a week. So what happened is that when DC started back up, it was all the issues had like a 1 year later mark. It was immediately following like Infinite Crisis. They jumped forward a year. Now 52 was meant to fill in that gap on what happened and such. So it followed Black Adam, Booster Gold, and Renee Montoya were like the three characters that this book followed. Interestingly enough, this is also the introduction of the current version of Kate Kane Batwoman. So there's
Oh,
that.
really?
Yeah, exactly. She was introduced in this by Rucka. Big surprise, right?
Big surprise.
Yeah. So we'll more on that later. But and by the way, maybe Kate Kane and Renee Montoya might be a good idea for a couples comparison. Anyway, so with Booster Gold, it's like he wants to be a Justice Leaguer. For Renee Montoya, it also showed how Renee became the Question because the current one died in this storyline. So for Black Adam, it was more of like he's trying to like form alliances because he doesn't like how most superheroes are American. So he's like, all the metahumans of the other world, of the other country of the world, let's form an alliance. So what happens is this country he's negotiating with gives him a slave. Now, Black Adam is very anti-slavery because he himself used to be a slave. So what he does is he frees Adriana and tells her, hey, I'm going to share my power with you and you're going to help me bring peace to Kontok. So she says, yeah, I'll join you if you save my brother, because her brother was also like captured. So they free her brother, and then Black Adam shares his power with him again, and he's called Osiris. And they become like the Black Adam. In other words, Black Adam gets his own family. And then he and Adriana fall in love. And so it's actually kind of cool. There's this scene. So obviously all the Shazam kids are very suspicious of Black Adam. And Mary Marvel asked him, like, asked Adriana, "Are you sure it's not like because you have powers and stuff, and it's not like you're being drawn to him?" And then Adriana's like, "Well, no, because I've turned back into my like, for lack of a better term, human form many times, and I still love him. So it's like it's not like the power is drawing her to him." And they get married, and then eventually she takes more of a humanitarian approach to like building up conduct's infrastructure and stuff, and basically modernizing it. And then as we'll see throughout the series for 52, and by the way, it's collected in this trade, I'm going to hold it up, called Black Adam Rise and Fall of an Empire. So that's what that is. And so that's the beginning of the story. So Britt, what do you think of that?
That's an interesting story. With this, of course, I am very on the fence of Rucka. So,
Don't worry,
anything.
this was not Rucka. This was a different writer that did all the Black Adam stuff. Rucka wrote all the Renee Montoya and Kate Kane stuff, obviously.
Right, obviously. Well, that's good. So I can go back and read that, eventually.
I
But
mean,
yeah,
he contributed to it, but it was mostly a Jeff Johns thing.
yeah, with the storyline, it makes me feel a little bit better with the whole, it's not an emotional crutch. He did, you know, a literal found family. He created his family, and that is something to show that he isn't all bad. If he doesn't want slaves, he is traumatized by that, traumatized by his past and everything. It's just that he cares so much about his country that that is what he wants to protect, but it doesn't seem like he wants to just rule it in that sort of way, not
No, he
injustice
loves
sort of
his
way.
people. All he wants to do is protect conduct however he can. And if sometimes he does go to violence, it's because it's like his people are actively being threatened, and he will go to extreme lengths to protect them. And that's again when you actually do research into Black Adam, because originally, before I read this storyline, because I did a bunch of Black Adam reading before before obviously the movie came out, to like brush up on the character, because again, I cannot stress this enough, as opposed to most of comic book Twitter, I read the comics. So when I read this, I'm like, it was like a shock, because I'm like, oh, that's why Black Adam has actually become one of my favorite DC characters. And this is what one of the things the movie did really well. All he cares about is protecting his people. He gets labeled a villain because sometimes he does go overboard with his methods. Not only that, he was also learned how to be a hero because he was on the Justice Society with like Jay Garrick and all that stuff. But obviously, they were like so there's currently at this point a modern Justice Society with like Power Girl and such. He was on that team.
So, in other words, he's sort of like Sinestro, but Sinestro wanted power.
Yeah.
So, but
The other thing,
just the going.
so
Mhm.
before this, there was a series called Black Rain where Kahndaq was being ruled before Black Adam by a dictator. So Black Adam's like, nah. And he invades with a few members of the Justice Society and takes back control of the country. He goes, no. So what he does, this is so good. So the way he takes out so Black Adam obviously has no qualms about killing people. So what he does is, this is like one of the best things I've probably seen him do. So they're attacking the like you could say president's palace. Black Adam like flies up. I'm trying to get the actual page. He like basically he flattens like this prison guard and like destroys every single. Oh yeah. So what he does is, this guard looks up. Black Adam literally lands on him.
Wow.
Like do not mess with Black Adam. And it's like, yeah, it's like he was like, no. And the Justice Society told him, you can't just fly in and like take over a country, right? He goes, what were you guys doing about it? Because my people were being like oppressed. You guys are just sitting on your ass all day. Someone had to do something.
Let me not start caring for Black Adam more than Superman.
Oh my God, that's good. That would be really fun. I'm gonna make pretty soon. Brit has so far cared about more characters other than Superman, but hey, that kind of works. But it's like, yeah, he's like, and he caused a civil war in the Justice Society because some of the members are like, yeah, he's right, and then Hawkman, who's leading the JSA, were like, yeah, but you can't just fly in. There's political ramifications to this. And Black Adam goes, tell me if I care. Tell me if the only thing I care about is protecting my people, and you guys aren't doing anything. So it's like, what do you think I'm gonna do? So in this, so then you get to Rise and Fall and Empire, and the way that this is done so well, literally everything is going Black Adam's way. Literally everything. So what starts the end is his family discovers a anthropomorphic alligator. Yes, you heard me right. Named Sobek. And Sobek is always hungry. There's a reason for that. And what's revealed is that, so at the same time, these group of scientific supervillains, such as like Tio Morrow and a bunch of those other guys, and Veronica Cale team up to take out Black Adam. So they create the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. One of them is Sobek, who is famine. So that's why he's always hungry. So Sobek tricks Osiris into turning back into, for lack of a better term, human form, and then eats him. And then Black Adam and Isis come home to see like to see like Osiris's bones, and they're like, what? And then Sobek shows up with the other horsemen, and it starts a fight, but not before Pestilence poisons Adriana, and as she lies dying in his arms, he says, I was wrong. I was wrong, Adam. It wasn't you that needed redemption. It was actually, I'm going to pull up the actual comic so I can read the full speech without it being cut off, because it's a great speech. And this is like the moment where everything snaps for him. So Adriana says, I was wrong, Adam. It was never you that needed redemption. It was the rest of the world of men that made such horrible creatures. The evil needs to die. I thought we could be above them, but for the pain they put our family through, avenge us. And she dies. And Black Adam finds out, so he invades a country again. So he's trying to find who made the horsemen. So he tracks them to a country. I forget which one it is. And kills literally everyone in the country.
Wow.
And then all the supervillains are like, oh my God, we effed up. And then he literally goes to their island and starts wrecking shop. And they briefly capture him. But then the JSA like stages a rescue operation. And this leads to an event called World War III. Now, fun fact. This was during the time that Donna Troy is WonderWoman. So you can imagine Donna going, I got to fight who? It's literally like every supervillain, every superhero shows up and goes to fight Black Adam. But the way they stop him is like they finally like get through him and go, look at all this destruction you've caused. And then they trick Black Adam into saying Shazam. And then what happens is when he says it again, his powers don't work. In other words, the gods that give him his powers now find him unworthy.
Okay, so maybe The Rock was right about Black Adam, that he wasn't overselling the character of, him being that
Oh
powerful.
no. Oh, when I read that comic and then I see The Rock's promotion, I go, he's not as powerful as Superman. That's the one point where I'm going to take like issue. It's called World War III, TJ, and I'll hold this up to the camera. You can get, as a matter of fact, when Black Adam was coming out, they came out with a box set that's like Black Adam Essential Reading. It's got Rise and Fall of an Empire, Black Reign, and Black Adam's new 52 introduction. That's in the Shazam book, but. Yeah, so he's found. So he basically takes on literally the entire world. They call it World War III, but it's really the world versus Black Adam.
Wow, I definitely need to read that.
So then you get to the Dark Age, and this was written by Peter J. Tomasi. So you're gonna have to suck it up, Britt, if you want to read this. So now Black Adam manages to get some of his power back, but he can only transform by saying the word by saying Isis's name. So he has to say Isis. Again, I mean the character. So he travels the world trying to it gets to the point where he brings her bones to a Lazarus pit, but the magic doesn't last, and she wastes away in his arms. And eventually, I think it was he coerces Felix Faust into trying to bring her back. Faust convinces Adam that he failed, and then Faust takes Adriana away without Black Adam knowing about it.
That is terrible. See, I guess she is supposed to be like his weakness or whatever, and that's the thing too, is that I just don't care for that trope of the love interest being the weakness, but they keep screwing with them and keep doing some. They deserve to get got at this point.
Oh, trust me. I believe Black Adam did find out, and to say he wrecked shop is a dramatic understatement. Adam is the one dude you do not want to piss off. Oh my God. There's a reason why in the Black Adam movie, when he shows up, Hawkman literally says to him about the demon, he goes, beat his ass.
I mean, you're really provoking him. Like, it's unnecessary.
There's literally an event called World War III where it's like, it was at that moment the world knew they effed up. That's literally what that is. So then you get the new 52 era. Now, okay, Adriana never showed up. Now, here's where I don't like this. So in this, this is where it's introduced the idea that Black Adam's nephew was supposed to get the powers, but Black Adam wanted the power for himself, so he killed his nephew and stole the powers.
Wow.
And I'm like, why did you have to change that? And by the way, it was, let me see who wrote this travesty. Oh, big surprise, Jeff Johns.
I was about to say, always at the scene of the crime.
Yeah, I'm like, why did you do it? You had the perfect origin. He's a slave. At least I'm fairly certain he was a slave before he became Black Adam.
He was. Yeah.
Yeah. And then you just wreck it with this?
Yes.
Like, why would you do that? I think it's also to make him more of a straight up villain, but it's kind of cool. So in Forever Evil, Ultraman crushes his jaw to prevent him from saying Shazam. So what Sinestro does is he basically reconstructs his jaw with a construct so he can say Shazam.
Wow.
It's so good. And then what happens is to stop, it's to blot out the sun. The Ultraman, because here's comic book logic for you. Ultraman moved the moon in the way of the sun and created a solar eclipse that somehow covered the entire Earth. And then Black Adam and Sinestro just moved the moon back.
Very comic booky.
Yeah, exactly. So in DCYRU and Rebirth, that's where we get Adriana back. But it's but they sort of tweaked it a little bit, and I'm like, okay, this I don't mind. This type of tweaking I don't mind because they gave her more to do. It's the Black Adam one where I'm like, you literally took a character from Post Crisis that was more noble and made him a dick.
Well, that is,
Jeff Johns.
yeah.
That is that he can't write it. And it's kind of funny is that everyone holds up his like Shazam work, but I go, how about the fact that he totally butchered Black Adam?
I mean, he butchered Wonder Woman too.
Here's the part that pisses me off, Britt. Johns was the primary writer for the 52 series that was so good.
Sometimes the writer, they don't age like fine wine. They age like powdered milk. So
no, they age like powdered milk that has been left in the sun under a magnifying glass.
Right, exactly.
Then a dog has thrown up into.
Yeah. Very descriptive, but at the same time, very apt of comparison.
I put the image in your mind, Britt. There you go.
Yeah, you did.
But yeah, so then you get to Rebirth. Now, they did do this is where they start to again push him toward more being a hero. Like they even put him on the Justice League under He Who Must Not Be Named, and they did a bunch of really cool stuff with him in this era. So that's why I'm like, go ahead.
He supposedly had history with Hippolyta.
Yeah,
and Nubia.
Yeah, so what happened is in Endless Winter, it's revealed. So the way Black Adam happened is that Black Adam was active in the ancient times, and then the gods sealed him up. But when the Frost King was like rampaging, Hippolyta and Viking Prince and Swamp Thing needed like a big gun to fight the Frost King. So they convinced the gods to like release Black Adam temporarily. And that's where he like fought alongside Hippolyta. And then afterwards, he was then resealed up in his tomb until he was released in the Jeff Johns series.
I mean, that's all right. It's a lot.
It's not the best, but I'm like,
because
it's resorting Black Adam to being more of like the villain that the fire and forget rocket. You just aim at something, and I'm like, that's not who he is.
Yeah, at this point, they don't know what to do with the character. Then.
Yeah, exactly. And by Cameron and Parker are also not fans of him killing his own son. Yeah, isn't it funny how that ends up? So, Britt, let's talk about hypocrisy, shall we? How is this couple received?
Of course, they it's received, as a traditional relationship. That's the thing, is if it is a relationship of a different franchise, then they say no. Or if it's not, just let me see. I saw, a couple of tweets about Lois, of course. And they were saying, oh, Lois is literally made for Superman. She is the love interest. Well, yeah, Sherlock. But at the same time, you can, explore different relationships.
Also, these are the same people that complain that SuperWonder denigrates Diana, and they just said, oh, she's the love interest. Yeah!
What's the difference? I mean, honestly, that isn't the flex that you want. That you are just saying that, okay, Lois's only role is to be the love interest. Whoop-de-doo. Mm-hmm. And as I said, they are under the same umbrella of DC, different franchises. So yeah, it will be difficult especially when they don't have good communication skills as editors. It is going to be difficult to write the pairing. And even in their separate franchises, they have difficulty writing that traditional relationship anyway. But yeah, that is basically how everything is warped. That if it's traditional and this certain character has that role as the love interest, they'll accept it like easily, whether it's written like Sugar Honey Iced Tea, they will still drink it. If it's written with potential, and even if it is flawed, they will demonize it to the high heavens, you know.
Yeah. Oh, Parker says, I can hear the close fans up in arms. Hey, you said it, not me. So I'm just saying. But it's like, that is the thing, because it's like, can you imagine if they actually treated Superman and Wonder Woman's relationship with respect? How much better? It's not like they did that in the past. Oh, wait.
I mean, you have potential in that relationship, knowing how it's marketable, you know. Again, even with the Superman movie, they marketed a dog before they marketed Lois, before
And
they
they
marketed
marketed Guy
Chloe.
Gardner with his stupid haircut before they marketed Superman, even.
Right. So if this is supposed to be an iconic relationship, this was something that was supposed to be, you know, used for marketing, and they didn't. Of course, you have the trailers and the clips or whatever scene, or the cast talking about it during a press tour. But honestly, unless you're like a big fan, no one cares for the press tours. So that's not exactly within that general audience marketing, you know? So if you are just marketing the movie with a dog that wasn't even his dog, he was just babysitting or dog sitting for a week. And as I said, this is supposed to be an iconic pairing, but also an iconic female character. You know, they claim that she's the first lady and all this, whatever, even though that's very subjective. Um, it should have been more within the comic books. She should have her own comic book, first of all. If she is supposed to be this big seller, she is supposed to be within the
She didn't even
story.
get a McFarlane action figure.
Something like that. I mean, they had also a Superman summer one shot, of course, but one story had her Superman being like, he claims that he loves her, but only because she ran with some kids and then got caught by the big fish monster and uh, was eaten. So it's kind of like, how exactly is that supposed to show how, I guess, brave she is? I don't know. It just really, honestly, she is just a plot device that exemplifies Superman being like this macho, as I say, Captain Save a Thought. That's it. That's all it is, you
I
know.
love it. I
And
love that.
the way the fans um praise this, that's what it is just this macho fantasy of saving the damsel. Yeah, Lois isn't the damsel that she used to be or whatever, or because she's supposed to be like this Mary Sue and whatever. You have to um you have to lower Superman for Lois to be even halfway and equal. But yeah, that's how it is. With Diana, she's on her own. She is independent. And that is how a relationship is supposed to be. That is what a power couple is. They are 100% themselves. They are independent, but they can give each other something. And they can complement each other in that sort of way. Lois, if
Yeah.
she isn't the love interest, she doesn't have a role. Diana, she is her own character. Um, And I mean, that's some Batman fans have a problem even with Catwoman, that she's so independent. She isn't um relying on being with Bruce, you know. And that's basically why you have Batman fans wanting Diana to become a Batman love interest, because first they want to change her basically into a nicer version of Selena, being the femme fatale, and they know that Diana is still a lesser franchise, I would say, than
Hmm.
Batman's, and they feel like she can be overshadowed. She can be used in the way that they can't use Catwoman. But that's also another hypocrisy with Wonderbat because you have this non-existent relationship. They don't have any type of build up. It's just within the Trinity, but even that is superficial and a whole another type of BS. But they don't have a foundation like Clark and Diana. But as I said, Clark and Diana's relationship is constantly demonized because it dares to get in the way of either traditional relationships or this self insertion of the human love interest.
Exactly. So then we get to the pairings reception. And again, Superman and Wonder Woman. Okay, so Twitter would have you believe. Well, the most hilarious statement I've ever read in a tweet is when people say, "Well, everyone hates it," and I go, "Who's everyone?" So first, that's the first thing. Let's talk about that. But then it's like, I think SuperWonder is more supported than people think it is, particularly with like I noticed mostly it's the DC Comics artists that are like for it. Probably, Barry Cameron says, "Britt, it sounds like you're saying that these fans are a bit sexist."
Yes, they
Huh?
are. Of course, they
Wow.
are.
You're telling me the DC that the Clois cultists, yes, Robert and I call them that, are sexist? Anyway, but yeah, it's like if you notice most it's like I've asked like artists and writers, it's like most of them are like, yeah, Super Wonder, because it's like aesthetically it looks more pleasing because to quote Jim Lee in the video and in TJ, it's impossible for Diana to be Diana in Wonder Bat. I'm just going to tell you that right there. Despite and Zach was not going to pair them together. I want to be clear on that. But it's like where was it? Oh yeah, it's like when you look at like what Jim Lee said when about the time they did that, and he was drawing the cover of them hovering in space. He goes, "Yeah, with Superman and Wonder Woman, artistically, you can do a lot more stuff with characters than you can." When than you can with like him with a traditional like human love interest, for lack of a better term. You know,
Well,
it's kind of
first of
funny on
all,
that. I was kind of funny on that. Diana is the most is the particularly now that the Clay origin is canon. Diana is the very definition of an Earth woman.
exactly. And you know, that is another thing. You see the Chloe's fan art or the, you know, or official art, and it's always Clark carrying her like a sack of oranges. That's it.
Sack
Like,
of oranges.
like, give me something else. Or like, I mean, Dan Mara was basically the only one that was a little bit, uh, I guess he had a different sort of perspective of, well, she did look like a little monkey on his back. So, you know, that that cover. But other than that, she's always being carried. That's it. Or the very illogical physics, I would say, of maybe they're flying, but it makes it seem like she can fly too because he's just holding her hand, you know, when logically her arm would probably be
Mm-hmm.
broken,
It's like in the
out of
Christopher
socket.
Reeve movie when they're flying side by side and he's holding her out like this, and she's like,
Exactly.
"Ah, yeah," and I'm like, "That doesn't make sense."
Right. So you basically have to turn off your brain a little bit for Clovis and well, majority of the time. So that's why. But with Clark and Diana, of course, they can fly together. You can have like the selfie, you know, in the clouds. You can have um
On the moon.
you can have them on the moon. With Lois, you have to have her in an astronaut suit, or she has to have powers. There was even a what was funny. There was even a cover, and Lois was sitting on a cloud, and I'm kind of like, she doesn't have powers or anything. How is she sitting on the cloud?
Well, yeah, exactly. Or it's like, but I love when I did see a good tweet around the time that Superwoman happened, where they're like, this whole giving Lois powers is really shown how two timed and like two faced the Chloe's fandom is, because they're like, oh my gosh, no, Clark has to be with a human woman. Look at how great Lois is with powers. They should keep it.
Exactly. Exactly. It's very much telling off on themselves. And that's another thing. You can't call Clark and Diana's relationship eugenics. You can't say that when you have John and he's supposed to be this messiah, you know, what Dan Jurgens or Tom Taylor wanted him to be, when he's a nepo baby. Even in the DC Go, that little web comic, he is called a nepo baby within the story, and also even in the even in that story, he wears a fedora and also the suit jacket like Clark and has on the glasses, and he looks exactly like Clark Jr. And it's like, okay, so how is this not eugenics that he looks exactly like Clark? He's supposed to be this all powerful, you know, even if he is half Kryptonian, because supposedly he has superior human genes too, that he is supposed to be all powerful, more powerful than a um, pure blood Kryptonian.
And I'm like, wait. So we're talking about having great genes and like being genetically superior. If only there was a word that starts with E.
Right.
That is so good. But anyway, when you have see, here's the thing about a Black Adam and Adriana. This is the thing. So you know that argument that people give that Lois and Steve humanize Clark and Diana?
That I can't stand. Right.
Yeah, this is the one example where that kind of works because yeah, he was much more brutal and maybe more detached from his people because he was so focused on being a protector. And it's like there was this one moment in the 52 series where like Black Adam has his family hand in hand with his family, and then he powers down, and like it's like that was one of the first times he's powered down in a while. So it's like she helps him connect more, and like essentially it's kind of like with Superman, Wonder Woman. Here's another similarity where Clark helps Diana see a life outside of just being like Wonder Woman.
Exactly. But that's not being grounded. It's just giving like that moment of peace,
Mm-hmm.
you know, that you don't have to just be basically on go 24/7. You don't have to be that protector or on guard. You can calm down, you can relax, you know, if only for a moment, just relax. That's not grounding. Grounding is, like I said, being handheld, knowing, having to be told right from wrong, having to be told and having your motivation just be this one person.
Yeah, exactly, and that's where that's where Adam definitely gets that at least from Adrian. In fact, even in the panel that I picked, he says, "You inspired me to embrace life." See, that's kind of the way this works.
Right.
And that's why I think that this grouping really works really well, and it's one of the most underrated and not talked about enough couples in DC Comics because it's like Black Adam's a fantastic character, but then this coupling particularly really like again each of these groups that we've talked about on the show, each in and of themselves are like in many ways a reflection of Clark and Diana, but also a reflection of like heroism. Because with Black Adam, it's more about like where it's more about justice versus vengeance, and Adriana kind of helped him like temper his vengeance.
Right.
So then you get to the movie. Now, all right, here's the thing about the movie. Again, I get it that The Rock wanted to like hype it up. That's kind of what he does. And then see, here's the thing. It's like, so my one problem with the movie, Her son, so Adriana is in this movie. She has no powers. They probably would have done that in a sequel. But so instead of being her brother, Amon is her son, and he's extremely annoying in this movie. Like, I'm like,
When I was
what
looking
is
him
wrong
up,
with you? Yeah, go ahead.
that was so funny. When I was looking him up, I said Black Adam Amon, and the first like search is Black Adam Amon annoying, and I was kind of like, wait, what?
Yeah, because he's not. So he is his kids. So they literally. So to show you how much of a superhero fan he is, when we first see him, he's skateboarding, and then he trips, falls off his skateboard, and literal DC comics fall out of his backpack. And it's like when you
Nerd.
see his room, he has the Wonder Woman 2017 poster, and I go, wait, did that happen, or is it like that's just a artist poster of that? Then he also has like Ivan Reyes like drawings of like Superman. So I'm like, okay,
So the Easter eggs are just very
surface level.
surface level, but it's also like a meta sort of thing.
Yeah, a little bit. And it's kind of funny is like at one point Hawkman's wing impacts the poster and tears it in half, and I go, okay, very well done. But it's so the thing about this movie is it's underrated, but it's not a perfect superhero movie at all. Like the so this thing was like in development hell for 10 years, and the thing about it, they should have done rewrites when they actually got to make it, because it's like, I still say, Britt, this movie would have made $1 billion if they chucked the Justice Society and went with Black Adam versus Superman in this movie. Because Henry Cavill Superman coming back to fight Black Adam, you can't tell me no one's gonna come see that.
Right. And I would say that it was that back and forth thing, not knowing if Henry was going to be still Superman. And at this point, the DCEU and the general audience did not care for DC, and the way The Rock was, it felt like he was playing Black Adam, but all you could see was The Rock still. So at that point, he did hit, the peak of being the actor, but he was starting to get annoying to a lot of people too. So a lot of factors is why this movie didn't do, so well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and it's like, all right. So then you get to so what you could definitely tell is that they were trying to build, because the thing about about The Rock, and this is where it kind of hurt him. Did you know Black Adam was supposed to be the villain of the first Shazam movie?
Yeah, but he wanted his own like solo.
He didn't want to fight a D-lister, to quote The Rock.
Well, I mean, Shazam, he's
Yeah,
not
but
a
you're
D-lister.
playing a Shazam villain.
Yeah, I think he was very ambitious. He wanted that Superman fight because he felt like for himself and for the character that he's been waiting to play for 10 years, he wanted something bigger. And honestly, with uh Zachary and his attitude, I can see where he's coming from, because it really felt like it was going to be something kiddie, and he didn't want that. He wanted something real epic like, and with Cavill, obviously, and with the direction of Snyder, I think that is what The Rock envisioned.
Yeah, but and it's like, and the way that like probably a Kingdom, I've again, I've long said that if Zach comes back to do like his conclusion, just make it a Kingdom Come movie, and then Darkseid invades at the end, and then the Justice League has to team up with Black Adam and like the JSA to fight the Parademons. You get the world becomes a Justice League thing, and then you get a conclusion to the Snyderverse. It's actually perfect, because it doesn't matter how old the actors are in Kingdom Come.
I mean, honestly, it doesn't matter how old the actors
Well,
are.
yeah.
you know, well, it doesn't matter with that. But I mean, even now, with what James Gunn is doing, he has Clark already in his 30s, or he's just now 30. And you don't have a Justice League. So by the time we get the Justice League movie, they will be the same age as DCEU characters, well, actors, as for the first movie. And it's kind of like, okay, you're just repeating the same thing. They're not really that young.
Yeah, exactly. And particularly when like you cast Kyle Chandler as Hal Jordan, and it's like, oh, you just wanted to recast Henry Cavill as Superman. I see what you're doing there, but anyway, so it's like, and so Hiram Garcia was like very vocal about this, is saying, hey, we could like do a Kingdom Come movie, and obviously in that case, it would be Black Adam playing the role of Shazam in like that final battle, probably.
Right, exactly. And what also so funny is that Kingdom Come is like the main goal for every director that, you know, um, within DC. Patty Jenkins, even she said she wanted to direct a Kingdom Come adaptation, and she was going to do shot by shot of the movie, of the comic book. And
But she probably would have had Diana still depressed over Steve Trevor.
I think that actually she would have changed that at this time, especially present time. And then and especially with the reception, it honestly, I think the reception of 84 still would have been the way it was. So by the time if she wanted to do a Kingdom Come adaptation, and she's also a Superman fan, so I would think that she would have let Diana be free of the bland blonde man.
First off, you are the best at making nicknames, and second off, this is the first time in a while I've seen you actually give someone the benefit of the doubt. Wow,
Only
this is a
because
new experience for me.
only because the way she talked about it and saying that she would have um had it shot by shot, then
I
okay,
mean,
I would
she
have
did
trusted
use
that.
the golden armor in 1984, so I guess that is an indication. Would she have brought that back? Oh, that could have actually been kind of cool.
Yeah,
Anyway, well, also it's like the thing is, it's like, do I want Patty Jenkins handling SuperWonder? That's a gamble.
exactly. It
We-
is a gamble, but I think that she would have, because she is a Superman fan too, um, and that I don't know if she was hinting at it, or it would have been in the present day if she were to have had like the any cameos. Again, being a Superman fan, I think she would have done okay.
I don't know. Well, maybe they can do it. Hey, James Gunn, Elseworlds. Hey, what's up, Anthony? Good to have you on board. I'm glad you're here. So, so it's essentially that they would have gone for a. Well, here's the thing. You, this what it would have definitely been like. Um, and by the way, yeah, no, that I'm sorry, that doesn't work. Anthony, so, refer to my past content on why Wonderbat is a horrible idea. But anyway, but it's like you definitely could have made this work really well with like the way the DCEU is set up. So, case in point, we would have talked about, okay, so here's how we could have so Britt, how could we have built toward a Kingdom Come move to a Black Adam confrontation with Superman and Wonder Woman?
Okay, so I mean, basically what they were already doing, which was, you know, the springboard was the end credit scene, you know, already set up. The only thing that I would change is that it was an indication that Superman and the Justice League was working with Waller. I would have
Mm-hmm.
changed that, but other than that, that was basically their springboard. Superman is also this is basically a redemption, for even though we know Snyder had his own like story, just for the general audience, I would say, for them to really accept Cavill as the Superman that, that not so much is leaning onto the whole poor stuff. We don't want that. No. But just that whatever they think is acceptable, because they can't handle the realism too much. So just for that sort of, in a way, superficial, happy-go-lucky type vibe, for Superman, and a redemption for him in a sense, because of, people did criticize him still for um, Justice League, both versions, and we didn't really get, still within both versions, him truly interacting with the Justice League as he should have. I think that it should have been one more scene of like a introduction, or him introducing himself to Diana at least, just to give that familiarity of the comics. And then with Diana, of course, we need to get her away from the blonde, um, bland man, and have her more focused on being a global hero, and also the finding the mascara, going back to the mascara and reuniting with her sisters, with her mother and sisters. Um, and also with Black Adam, he is still framed as the anti-hero that's trying to just protect his country, and of course you would add on Adriana and um, well, her son now, as his found family.
Yeah, exactly. So then what you get here is okay. So you also had the hints of Kingdom Come, where yeah, it's this a lot of the story of Black Adam, the movie, is very Kingdom Come, and it's very much like because because it's like you have Black Adam being brutal, but then it's the whole brutal superhero versus the more hopeful ones. The only part that I don't like is why is Hawkman of all people lecturing Black Adam about killing people? Britt, I brought this up when we talked about a Hawkman and Hawkgirl. Isn't Hawkman the one that's most likely to murder people?
I think so.
Yeah, and by the way, Anthony, yeah, Britt is one of the co-hosts of my channel, and I've done too many videos right now to to shortly like sum up why I hate Lois. But anyway, but
It's not
yes,
even that. I,
yeah,
I can answer this.
yeah. Go ahead.
First, it's a multiverse, and they are fictional characters, so you can have a different perspective of these characters, especially with them being like almost 100 years old. So, and they have a vast multitude of stories. So you can like different relationships and have a different perspective of these characters. So one preferred relationship is, okay for different fans. You don't have to be sheep to accept what's accepted as the norm. We don't do that. I, for myself, and just as what Clark and Diana's relationship represents, is that you stand out from tradition. You stand out from what's expected and what's accepted as the norm, and create your own normal or whatever. So, yeah, with Clark and Diana's relationship, it's just a different, unique perspective that we gravitate to. Um, yeah, he's with Lois, but okay, that's just the norm, and it's something that's very predictable, and you don't always have to accept that.
Yeah, exactly. So then you get to yeah, exactly, and it's like you can, and then what you could do in this movie, as you say in the slides, which is really good, you could have like the conversation with Wonder Woman in Kingdom Come, where like they're debating about killing or like subduing the villain. You could have that, but it's just with Black Adam, and Diana could say, "Hey, you killed Zod," so it's like, what's the difference between Zod and Adam?
That is a good question.
Yeah, because remember in this universe, Man of Steel is still canon, and he snaps Zod's neck.
That is something that definitely, wow. You didn't write that down.
Right. We may have to just do this as a fanfic, bro. We really may have to do this.
Right.
Yeah, and we could have Superman go, but and we could have it where Superman doesn't have an answer for her.
I will also say that with honestly, I would take this over trying to make the crisis film too.
Mm-hmm.
That this was sort of a crisis thing, but trying to have I know that they wanted to have the Flash film,
Mm-hmm.
and it was either going to be Flashpoint or Crisis on Infinite Earths, that whole
Eventually, yeah.
thing. But honestly, I would say that if they had that idea to in this universe or whatever, Kingdom Come is the right way to go. And and if you want to say that they were the older heroes too, and or even have well, Crisis on Infinite Earth, the animated movie, wasn't out yet,
Mm-hmm.
but even that sort of mix in of just having a Kingdom Come-esque ending with that Tomorrowverse ending, it made sense. It marry those two together and you have the perfect DCEU ending. Yeah, bring back Snyder to do something, but for the characters to have that general audience redemption, in some way and have that closure. Again, Diana really needed to become more of the voice of that we know her to be. And I don't know, there just needed to be a little bit more reconstruction for her, you know.
Slight tweaks, really. And by Anthony asked a good question. Would you prefer Wonder Woman to have more like experience, to be closer to Bruce in terms of experience level, or in terms of Clark, or ultimately being a hero for 2 or 3 years?
Diana should never be that experience, and to be close to Bruce is just not within her character.
No, no,
Um,
but no. What he means is like in terms of like, let's say Bruce has been a hero for 20 years. Do you think she should be a superhero?
no,
She should have been a
because
superhero for 20 years.
no, Diana does not need to be old as dirt. That no, she is always supposed to be younger because she represents the new age of okay, Superman is more like let me see. Pre-crisis Superman, I would say that he did not care to be aligned with the government. He was ready to if he had to do basically what he had to do is what he had to do. Post-crisis Superman was very much bordering a government stooge, and he needed to basically be in a sense inspired to be his golden age self again. And that is what Diana brings. Diana brings this perspective that being a hero does not mean align yourself with one government or one sort of authoritative type um, leadership or whatever like that. She is just wanting to learn and wanting to be of the world of the time, and especially with the history of the Amazons, that how does that really make sense for for Diana to be old as dirt when her main purpose is to change the world, the modern world, that she is supposed to see, um, give the different perspective that her mother had, at the time of wartime or however long that was. So Diana is always supposed to be modern age.
Yeah, exactly. So then you get to the missed opportunities after the DC restructuring. Because here's the thing, Britt. You could have used this to even wrap up the Snyderverse, like use this as the jumping on point to, again, to set up Kingdom Come, and then give Gunn the proper time to think through the universe. Because here's the thing. A lot of the DCU seems really rushed. It's like, again, like we said at the beginning of the show, when people ask him about Wonder Woman, the Flash being like the Flash part being canon to like Peacemaker, he goes, I don't know. What?
Yeah, again, he does not know. I guess the idea of, yeah, he's in charge, and again, he didn't expect that. Yeah, you have to have your A-listers, at front and center. You can't just have this verse full of C through Z listers. That's not how that works. But he's more comfortable with those types of characters because he can bend them, the way he sees fit. He can, do this
And
wacky
as we
stuff.
saw with Cersei, that's a horrible idea.
Exactly. Honestly, I'm not even optimistic about Wonder Woman because if Cersei is supposed to be like the villain of the Wonder Woman movie, I'm kind of like, okay, how is she a threat when she got beat up by
A
Weasel?
Fleabag.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, speaking of threat, so it's like the thing about Black Adam is so you obviously had the post credit scene which was gonna be like, oh, Black Adam is gonna fight Superman, and then also the Rock had made comments that he wanted to fight the entire Justice League, so there would have been a Wonder Woman confrontation somewhere in there, and I
Oh,
could see it's like that's like one of the Justice League movies.
oh, exactly. I believe, actually, um, the producer said that in order for uh, Superman to beat Black Adam in that way, it would have been a team up with Superman and Wonder Woman. So they had already had that idea of them basically being co-leads together. I think that there was also an image of that was floating around. It was an official image, I think. I don't think it was fan art of Black Adam and Superman fighting in Diana running towards the fight or something like that. I would
Mhm.
have to find that image. But yeah, it wasn't it was already an idea of them teaming up.
Yeah, exactly. So, as you guys know, Britt and I always do like crossovers. However, we're gonna do something very special. So, Britt, pitch me a Black Adam versus Superman and Wonder Woman movie.
Okay. So yeah, normally we would do our fanfics, but this time we are going to do a movie since they already gave the idea within the producers, interviews and everything. So we're just expanding it. So within this is called Worlds at War, Gods Among Us. And yes, we are taking Injustice title and making it better.
And you're
Um,
also taking the Black Adam World War III story when you think about
right.
it.
So a DCEU Elseworld style continuation inspired by Kingdom Come, adapted the tone or, of course having the characters from Black Adam, Man of Steel, aside from Lois, um,
Yeah,
and Wonder Woman, uh, aside from this Steve obsession and everything like that, this is a redemption arc again for everyone. And Diana is the leader and everything that we know her to be. I would say that this movie also combines with her whole revamping is like Spirit of Truth.
Yeah, exactly. So let's hear this pitch.
Okay, so the film capitalizes on the ending of Black Adam, where Superman appears to confront Adam, but it also has Diana. Whether it is to be a like redo that scene and have her standing side by
Here's
side
what you
with.
do. I just thought of this. Here's what you do. So Black Adam goes, you know, I could probably take you alone, and you might as well have sent like a woman to face me. And Superman goes, you obviously don't know my girlfriend because she trust me, dude, she could kick your ass.
Well, we wouldn't say girlfriend because,
Well, yeah. Mm-hmm.
it, it's already the
Mm-hmm.
whole claim of, oh, you're just reducing her to a girlfriend. No, so we would say
All right,
something
yeah.
like, well, I know a wonder or something like that.
Oh,
Um,
I'll tell you what. Just this. I know a woman who's quite a handful,
exactly.
and
Okay.
he throws Lois at Black Adam. Get him, Lois.
Funny,
Annoy him.
hilarious. So of course, Adriana, she ends up with the powers, as you said, within the sequel, or this will be like the sequel. So the central hook is two power couples, two philosophies, one war for humanity. And also we're having the poster would be Superman and Wonder Woman 6, but switch Zod and Fiora to Isis and Black Adam.
I like that one. That works.
So the plot. So um the opening, of course, would be Black Adam and Isis. They are within their country. They are, making sure that everything is safe. And Isis, she is, of course, compassionate and she is fearless and she is showing that she is equal to Adam. Um, but because of that um, ending credit, scene, Adam is a little salty. So you have him address the UN and, of course, accuses of Superman and Wonder Woman serving for political interests of America, the West. And so, and how they are a danger or trying to control humanity, so basically trying to warp the world's view of Clark and Diana. Then you have, and that invokes, basically Magog, of how the world turned against Superman at when they felt like they needed that protection from someone who can actually be a hero, with seeing how Adam has made his country feel safe and flourishing. This is how the world wants to be. And Superman and Wonder Woman are having a little bit of difficulty with that because, with the type of other villains that they deal with and how stubborn, the government is and not wanting them and wanting to have control of them. So it's a conflict within a conflict for them.
Yeah.
And so Clark and Diana, of course, they have their own views of what to do, how to do it. Clark feels like, I dealt with the government. Diana, I don't like Diana being old as dirt, but in this case, she's kind of like, well, I've seen, through years or decades of how this country and how its government has changed. And even though it was supposed to evolve, it seemingly has been stagnant or regressed. So they have that little um, talk, and
Mm-hmm.
I love that they have these ideological talks within the comics. So we definitely have that within the movie. Um, and Diana also, she has the role of being kind of like, of course, the moral compass and also the mediator, and to basically try to get ahead before Clark and Adam actually physically fights. So of course you have um, the the philosophical, clashing of what should what should they do, and that of course mirrors Superman and Shazam from Kingdom Come and that whole battle scene. You also have a little bit of Diana and Isis or Adriana being like, I would say Diana and Bruce's fight from Kingdom Come, or or something like that, or
Hmm.
maybe just that sort of conflict. And also Diana, she has, I will add that she does have now communication with the Amazons, and but at the same time, it's kind of like, okay, first of all, you haven't contacted us in like 100 years,
Hmm.
so you know that is a little shady, Diana. So
Hmm.
she has to gain back that sort of trust for them to help her within this sort of thing, and for them to open up to her.
Well, counterpoint, what you could do if you set this after the end of the Snyderverse, she becomes the queen.
But I don't want Hippolyta to die because we didn't have much.
Yeah, yeah, that's
Yeah,
true.
we
That's
didn't have
true.
much time for her. So no, Diana. And also, that's the one thing that Diana doesn't want to become queen of the Amazons because she
Hmm.
feels like she's obligated to stay on the island, and that's just not what she wants to do. She would rather have someone trustworthy, to become queen, and but she is still the representative of the mascara,
I see.
which is very much a good compromise. So, also within this part, you have Clark and Diana, of course, having their quiet moments of building their relationship again, as we know it in comics, of them having these quiet moments of getting to know each other, understanding that Diana is just an island girl, Cal is just a farm boy, but they have this immense power and this pressure of being, the world's protectors, and they don't know how to handle it sometimes, so they need someone to understand, to vent, their concerns, or, things like that.
Hmm. Yeah, exactly.
So midpoint, you have the battle, and things get a little rough because Isis and Diana, they try to be, again, the voice of reasons, but even they clash, and their clashing is of trying to figure out a way to get their men to not fight,
Hmm.
so it's a little bit like my idea is better than yours, but they end up messing up each other's ideas in the first place. So, and then with trying to, figure out how to protect the civilians is another thing. It's like we're all stubborn. So it's just a clash of mind, stubbornness, and then it turns physical. And uh, Clark and Adam are very much, very much dudes, at this point.
Yeah.
So, but at that point, neither wins because you see the destruction that, with all the flying and fists and throwing each other into buildings and homes and stuff, you are actually being the villains of your own country. And you're also, putting the people that you wanted to protect, you're putting them out their homes while you're destroying it, fighting, you know. Um, and then the world sees this. Of course, it will be broadcasted. So it's kind of like there is still a divide, but at the same time, they try to figure out, okay, how do we get this back together? Diana, and this is where we get Diana as the ambassador of peace and the ambassador of, the world, because she now has found her place of, this is my calling of bringing countries together. So how do I do that? And Cal, we finally see him as the reporter he is supposed to be, of being that. voice to pretty much everyone, you know.
Hmm.
Um, and then we have another battle
Oh, okay.
where it's, I would say that because of The Rock, he wants to fight. So
Hmm.
he's very headstrong with this, and he's kind of like, if I can't beat you in a, mind battle, I want to
You
physically
do
fight
the
you.
arm wrestling scene from All Star Superman.
He would do something like that. I mean, he wants to fight. So you are going to have a round two. And he's so angry that in a sense, he's blaming Superman for what he caused with the destruction, and he's just looking at that destruction and saying, "Well, if Superman didn't come into my country, then it wouldn't have, buildings and homes wouldn't have been destroyed." So at this point, he's taking, "Well, I'm going to destroy his home." So that is where you get another fight, and basically, it's very much a I want to say this in a very PG-13 way. Um, a measuring contest, you know. Um,
Oh, I get what you're talking about. Like, but wait, are they? Is it like measuring a certain part of the male anatomy?
yes, yes,
I see. I see. Okay, I
yes.
got you.
So you're basically having that, and Diana
I'll tell you
and
what.
Isis,
I'll tell you what. They're comparing the size of scrolls.
perfect, perfect.
I can't take
so
credit for that. That's all her.
so, but of course you have Diana and Adriana. They are the ones, again, the voice of reason, the ones that even if they have like this friction between them, they're able to still talk. So now they have to figure out, okay, what am I going to do to um, get these men to stop fighting? And at this point, um, I would say that there is something that makes her a little resentful for Diana. So they do have their little fight. And
It's much more brief, though.
right. And she does lose a little bit of control of her power only because of the emotion in it. Like
Mhm.
with this movie idea, it's supposed to be an exploration of their intellectual and emotional, character. And that's sometimes we don't get that. And I think that was also missing within the Black Adam movie.
Yeah,
Just a little bit.
exactly. And well,
Um
they kind of went into the whole should we kill people and such, but it was like, and also it's like the idea of the JSA like projecting their own will, but it was very surface level.
Right. So because Isis is like losing control of her powers, things go haywire, you got lightning strikes going everywhere. So more people are now in danger. And it's just something that they did not want to happen. You have this moment. Diana isn't the damsel in distress or anything, but she is trying to block the lightning strike, and
Mhm.
Cal jumps in front of her. And this is the moment where uh, Trinity, Wagner's Trinity, where Diana, where they have this moment where even though she doesn't need protection, but he still, protects her anyway. And so she has this moment where she really sees him as her partner and her protector, when she needed, even though he respects her to know that no, she has her shield or she has the bracelets and she can deflect, even a lightning strike. Hell, she can control a lightning strike. But it's still the fact that just his impulse and being who he is, he wanted to protect her. And that also goes back to power couple.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
So
Exactly.
then Isis, she finally regains herself and she calls everything off. She's like, Adam, you need to stop. Everything needs to stop. And they realize we are causing more damage, more than ever. Round one was just a little bit, and you went overboard with this revenge type thing. This round, you are, if it were to continue on, people would have died. So they all basically feel sorry for themselves and a bit guilty for not being able to come about this in a more mature way, but they also understand that it is the government that's basically the big bad.
Yeah, exactly.
So the ending is basically them showing that they do have respect for each other, even if it is a little strained, and they understand that, we can't change the US government in overnight. It will have to be something ongoing, but what we can be is the heroes for our country and for Clark and Diana to be trusted globally. So they basically make this commitment that they are, as we like them to do, they travel the world, and they gain the trust of the people. So, yeah, the government will end up being overturned. And in a sense of that, they can't manipulate, the public to end up with the wars and everything like that. It has to be within the people, and the people's safety comes first.
Mm-hmm.
So
Exactly.
this also, at the end, Adam and Isis, they retreat, their going back to their country, and it's also Clark and Diana. They Adam feels that they are being very gullible, though, like their mission to get the U.S. government to change its ways, that's a tall task, very ambitious. So he's basically a little snarky, a little like, no, they're not going to change, and you're going to be basically crawling back to us to help you or whatever. But Clark and Diana are basically like, we got this, you know. And they have this moment again where they're understanding each other and solidifying their partnership at the end. And yeah, they do a little flirtatious type, you know, scene. I would say they don't openly flirt, but it kind of like, well, it's basically like Conrad way, very ambiguous.
Oh, we in that case we definitely need to have Black Adam go like, "Oh, what's the matter, Kryptonian? Afraid of getting your hands dirty?" And then Diana goes, "I assure you, Clark knows a thing or two about getting his hands dirty."
Hilarious.
I want
Yes.
that line. I want that line.
But right. So this is where you set up a sequel, because now that Clark and Diana has solidified their partnership, now it's time for them to rebuild the Justice League, and also rebuild it in a way where Waller or whoever else is in control of the government doesn't have control over them.
Yeah.
And that
Or
again,
you could even have it where Isis tells Diana, "Good luck with the Kryptonian," and then Diana goes, "What are you talking about?" And then Isis just says, "And people say Black Adam is blind."
hilarious. That is funny. That is a good line. Um, yeah, so they are the leaders, as they should have been, of the Justice League.
Yeah.
So
hmm And then
yeah,
you get to redoing the relationship.
yeah. So again, this film establishes them as the equals and best friends. They're strategizing together, and um, they're just really getting to know each other with that trust and honesty. And knowing each other not just as Superman and Wonder Woman, but as Clark, Kal, and Diana. Um, and not being distant, how they were within the DCEU at first. Shared spotlight, of course. I know that intimidates Tomasi, but yes, they will have shared spotlight. Diana will be the voice of reason and also the moral compass. They are emotionally and thematically entwined. That is who they are. You also have the romantic subtext. Again, it's not too openly, because you don't want that as just like the first thing we want to have it as a slow build. But they do have those moments where it's kind of like, oh, that's really cute, and slowly have them build that where you start to root for them as we love them to be. And also the outsider bond, of course, they have those moments of learning of each other. Um, and then of course their trust and honesty to be able to open up to each other as we see in the comics.
Yeah, exactly. So, Britt, why does this work with the DCEU?
Okay, so within this again, being Kingdom Come inspired, of course, Adam is Magog. You know,
Mhm.
the kind of um, he has the support of the people of his country and maybe some of the other, other people from around the world, and they see Superman and Wonder Woman is basically not enough. Uh, then you have Superman and Wonder Woman as older, of course, because this happens when they are pushing 40, basically, within the DCU. So they both are kind of weary at this point. And then Isis, she is the morally complex mirror of Diana. Again, she is trying to be the voice of reason for the man that she loves. And
Yeah.
then power couple versus power couple. Again, this invokes power couple that
Mhm.
Charles Soule wrote with the Zod and Fiora fight. But now you have more of a, it's not just about powers, but it's the partnerships, the values, and the uh,
Ooh,
philosophies.
idea. Black Adam
Mhm.
shoots Wonder Woman with lightning. It does nothing. And she goes, "You don't know that much about me, do you?"
So we have to have the Superman and Apollo scene
Except
somehow.
it's Wonder Woman in this case. Because remember, in the Wonder Woman movie, when Ares shoots lightning at her, it does nothing.
Right. So you have the organic setup for sequels because this is just chapter one, the restart. You're building your A-listers, you're building Clark and Diana as the partner, at their partnership, and now you want to rebuild the Justice League. Um, you have the ideological divide. Again, Superman, he's he's morally restrained, morally conflicted because he's trying to be this great symbol and inspiration, but at the same time, he has to do things that at first people will probably judge him, like he's traumatized by snapping Zod's neck, but that was something that he had to do, you know. And then with Diana, she's kind of battle ready. She's kind of like, okay, yeah, you snapped his neck because you saved a family. Like, it is what it is. That's what you had to do. Like, basically, get over it. You are a hero. We have to make sacrifices. We have to make the hard decisions, you know? And that was something also that I think that a lot of people don't understand from Kingdom Come. That's basically Diana's attitude. She wasn't trying to be evil or anything like that. She was just trying to be realistic.
Yeah.
Um, Then you have the power scaling, of course. You have the god, the monarch, and the metahumans, in this global power struggle. Lastly, you have the visual homage, which is the chicken suit for Diana,
I love how you
the
call it
golden
the
chicken
chicken
armor.
suit.
It does look like a golden chicken.
It
Like,
does kind of, particularly the helmet. I think it's more of the DCEU version of it that makes it kind of look like a chicken.
no, at Alex, it does look like a chicken,
All right, all right.
either way. If it
Mm-hmm,
wasn't for the helmet, like she could have the wings and stuff, but the helmet is unnecessary.
mm-hmm.
She kind of looks like a mascot.
I love it. I love it. That's so good, Britt. I love it. But yeah, so I think this would have been a pretty dope movie if only DC had actually had some balls and did it, huh?
Yeah, but they would, I mean, those are some very tiny, 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 tiny balls, very micro and non-existent.
Microscopic. You have to look at them through a microscope. It's the Adam's balls. Anyway, so now we're going to get to our reviews. So we got a couple of them. Absolute Superman number 10. What I liked about this issue, it definitely like advanced the whole like story further. You saw Cameron's like, damn, Brit. And you definitely saw like a lot about of Krypton and protecting Earth, but you also get the reveal that the Omega person that's been helping Superman is Talia al Ghul, which I called. It's like it's like the minute I see Raish and I go, okay, so where's Talia? This person kind of looks like Talia. Okay. And the idea of taking a Batman villain and putting him in a Superman story, that's actually not entirely a horrible idea.
It's not horrible. It's just okay.
Yeah.
No.
Well, let me put it this way. This series is still no absolute Wonder Woman after all, because the absolute Wonder Woman book is god tier.
Right.
But it was still kind of cool. And I like how like he goes in, how like Superman says, my father told me to like protect Earth. So it's going into more of like Clark's relationship with Jor-El and stuff. And it is really cool. Plus, you have this great image of Superman as he like flies above the Peacemakers, and his like Kryptonian dust cape now looks like demon wings. And I'm like, oh, that is dope.
Yeah, the cape is interesting. I do like that. I like the design as a whole.
Yeah, and you can pretty much tell. You can imagine Henry Cavill playing. Can you imagine if when they do Absolute movies, it's the Snyderverse cast as the Absolute characters? At least Superman and Wonder Woman.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's like Gal Gadot with the arm tattoo and the giant ass sword, and Henry Cavill with like his build and his long hair like that.
That would be interesting. Very interesting.
DC, hire me. I'll fix your entire movie thing. But yeah, it's it's fun. I do agree with you that I think that now they're finally getting to the point of this particular story, and it's like, because as we know, later on this year they're going to start crossing these stories over, so they need to get their individual stories wrapped up first. So I get the feeling they're gonna that now we're gonna see like maybe the next 2 or 3 months the Superman story like finally like come to a head, if you will.
Well, they need to pick it up, you know. It needs a little bit more momentum.
Yeah, but so Britt, how do you rate this issue out of 10?
I give it an 8.
Yeah, I'll give you that. It's an 8. It's definitely like it's one in my mind. It's one of the most fun issues that that I think we've had in like a really long time for the Absolute universe, and it's really definitely like it's. Again, I just love seeing that cape do cool crap, and like Superman be basically unstoppable. Like I love in this where Metallo, who is essentially Christopher Smith Peacemaker, shows up and expects, I'm going to be a badass. Superman just takes him and slams him into the ground and like incapacitates him. And I go, God damn, I love seeing Peacemaker get his ass kicked. Yeah,
well,
I really hate
one
Peacemaker.
Good thing.
Yeah, it's like they really show you how powerful Superman is. And I go, oh, when I saw this, because I was expecting it to be like a more drawn out fight. No, it's like 2 pages. Whoop, boosh. And then you see Peacemaker, he's like, and I'm like, yes. I'm like, die, a-hole. Yes, I really hate Peacemaker considering how much they pushed him after Gunn did his thing. Speaking of being pushed for no reason, or that should be pushed down a flight of stairs, Trinity, the daughter of Wonder Woman. So hang on, Britt.
Baby.
Before you do this, I think I have a clip that basically describes what everyone wants to do to Trinity. That's I'd say that that's very accurate. But it's like, okay, first off, why does Cerberus look like a corgi?
Because none of this is supposed to be a joke, basically, you know.
And then Wonder Woman is like eaten by Cerberus, and I go, so here's the advantage of this series.
Wait, she's eaten?
Isn't it like she's distracted by the corgi, and then Wonder Woman is eaten by Cerberus, and Trinity has to go back in time to save her mother?
You know what? Honestly, wait, that's an insult because this is supposed to be like a something of, you know, Perez. So saying that the Chucky baby belongs to Perez version of Diana, no, that is a no. First, it's gross because Perez Steve is an old man that looks at Diana as a little sister and also married to Etta. So that's a no. Second, again, it's an insult because the Chucky baby does not belong to this Diana. She can be Tom King's Diana because we
Which, trust
don't
me, no one wants that.
exactly. But yeah, I honestly think that with the Cerberus being a corgi mutant thing, yeah, you don't supposed to take this seriously. And if this is supposed to be some type of time travel too, it really does not make sense. So,
But here's
if
the advantage, Britt. Here's the advantage that this series has. So assuming it keeps flopping, this makes it significantly less likely that they're going to do anything with Trinity in the future if this series keeps flopping. Let's be honest, when this series keeps flopping, because no one gives a crap about Trinity. And second off, because of where this is placed in a timeline, as soon as King leaves Wonder Woman, this series does not happen. It's not like this series is stuck in canon. It's not. As soon as King leaves, this version of Trinity is even gone because no one's going to reference this future.
true.
Because remember, this whole story is perpetuated by versions of Trinity that are from the future of where we are now. And obviously that's never going to happen anymore.
Right, it doesn't. I mean, honestly, King's whole run, it feels like an Elseworld. It should have been an Elseworld.
Which, let's be honest, that's the way a lot of his series are. I think that's intentional. So DC can go, okay, so what can we salvage from this? Hopefully with Wonder Woman, they're like, we can't salvage anything from this. Just watch. It would be hilarious if all of a sudden they retroactively call it Black Label.
Yeah, and I mean, honestly, that's an insult to Black Label, but Black Label is a Batman thing anyway. But yeah, just this whole thing does not make sense to me. Especially with his whole thing talking about this is supposed to be fathers and daughters. So
in a series called Daughter of Wonder Woman.
Yeah, you might as well had said it's Trinity, the daughter of Steve Trevor, but how is that going to be marketed, of course, and who's going to read that? I mean, it's already plummeting in sales. What was also an insult was the cover.
Yeah.
As in homage to Perez again.
So it's homaging the Perez cover of her doing this. As a matter of fact, I think it's the cover of my omnibus here.
Yes, it's the cover of the omnibus.
So it's basically this cover, but with Trinity. Now, here's the weak part about this. The back part is nothing, and it's just Diana and Steve here, and it's Trinity doing this. So I'm like, thank you for telling me that, and thank you for rubbing it in that no Wonder characters have interacted with this girl.
But also, you take everyone away. Like, that's an insult to Perez because Perez built Wonder Woman's lore, and you are stripping it apart. How are you going to say that Perez is definitive, but yet you're disrespecting everything that he built?
And you're changing everything that you want to change. That's not what that is. And Anthony, Britt and I never said Wonder Woman was a disaster in the absolute universe. I don't know where you're getting that from. But yeah, and NJ sums it up. It's just so he can make Trinity look cool. It's like this is what it's like. He keeps trying to push this character, but what it's like when she says she's the leader of the Justice League, and I go, yeah, you know who's not going to be the leader of the Justice League as soon as King leaves Wonder Woman, and probably won't be a character. Because Britt, what happens whenever King makes up a character?
They just disappear into the oblivion
Well,
abyss.
because it's like Gotham and Gotham Girl. Before you say there was an established timetable on if they could bring those characters back, yeah, DC could have like could have still brought them back no matter what. And it's like, yeah, they're not going. King barely ever when King creates characters do they stick around, and that's intentional.
Right. I mean, even trying to make Kite Man so popular, and that's been a flop.
Yeah, I'm just like, just stop. So speaking of just stop, all right, Greg Rucka. All right, so here's the thing about this. So he did an interview talking about that Cheetah's in love with Diana. Now, I want to address one thing real quick before Britt and I start our rant about this. Because some people apparently think that he was saying that that it's mutual with Diana. He wasn't saying that. It's more of the case of like unrequited love. But here's the thing. I'm sick of the revisionist depiction of Cheetah where because here's the problem with Rucka saying, "Oh, Cheetah's in love with Diana." The next writer could come on the book and write Cheetah and say, "Oh yeah, Cheetah hates Diana."
Exactly, and that was her thing before.
Mm-hmm.
Cheetah is jealous of Diana. She was never her friend. The whole thing was that she was basically looking for a come up. You know, she was playing that she knew about certain things that interested Diana, knowing that that's how she could have gotten close to Diana, played as if she was her friend, only for her own gain, to be
Speaking of
selfish.
revising the Perez origin,
Right. I mean, I don't understand how these writers can say they have so much respect for Perez, but yet they are revising either ignoring or revising everything that he established. You know,
mm-hmm.
you do the year one, and you have Aries, of course, and you use the Perez, design and everything like that. But yet you don't introduce Julie and Vanessa. You have Barbara basically as a Julia knockoff. Um, but yet you still don't establish them truly as friends. And then, of course, you have Steve and try to make him as the love interest. And in order to do that, what did you have to do? You have to throw Diana under the bus, make her codependent, and put her in a straitjacket because she done lost her mind, and make her codependent and guilt trip her because she was with Clark. So yeah, that is why I say that Rucka's second run is very mean spirited. He has some mean spirited things in his first run, and of course, it had to do with Clark and Diana. But his second one really showed it. And year one, honestly, that is very pale in comparison to what Perez established.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. NJ says, I speak for myself and say, I like this idea of her loving Diana. Okay. And you know what, NJ, that you're allowed to have that opinion because you're always respectful of us. So yeah, that's totally fine. You can disagree with us, but it's just like when it's just like they keep trying to change it. Cause I miss when we could actually have actual villains, because here's what the Wonder Woman fandom doesn't get. The enemies to lovers trope, A, is overused. And two, I don't know how many different ways I can say this. DC editorial. You know my opinion of DC and Wonder Woman being biased, so I'm not going to go into that. But DC, even if they acknowledge that, they're not going to put Diana with a murderous cat lady.
Exactly. Why would you have Diana? No.
Even if she has been redeemed, the general audience doesn't know that.
But also, why are you turning Diana's love and her redemption into toxic, you know, and trying to romanticize it.
Mm-hmm.
No, don't do that. Diana's love is universal, and it's not just romantic love. She loves life. She loves people. Um, Her romantic love is something I would say is very sacred, you know?
Yeah, it's like remember when Rucka said she was bi? Yes, just Rucka said. He said, "Oh yeah, she's also pansexual because she loves everyone." And I go, "That's not what that means."
Right. Diana, she's a free spirit. She is a, you know, she loves life. Yeah, she loves love. But at the same time, you have to be very specific because people, again, they romanticize it. They do self-insertions. And like what Rucka is doing now, he is revision the revisionisms of Cheetah and how you want to say that she's in love. No, she's not in love with Diana specifically. She's in love with Diana's power. She's in love with who Diana is. You know, that's not healthy. That's not something that should be celebrated. If anything, you should be scared of that. You
Mm-hmm.
know, that isn't something.
And NJ Gail Simone says he's pansexual. Gail Simone should not be taking her opinion because remember, Gail Simone's also the person that said she wants to see Wonder Woman throw her maxi pad at a villain. Don't take what Gail Simone says about anything really seriously.
I would say that.
Oh, and remember, she's also the one that made it so Diana was only in a relationship with Tom Tresser just so she could have Amazon babies.
Yeah, it's funny how Rucka and Simone has so much to say about Clark and Diana's relationship, but their takes on Diana's relationships are very problematic.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. And then said same thing for like Phil Jimenez because remember he said he likes Wonder Woman with Batman because she should be with the bad boy. It's like a rebellion against Hippolyta. And then he put her in a relationship with an insertion for this guy that Phil Jimenez had a crush on.
Yeah. So, it's the hypocrisy and the double standards it's more than the fans, it's also the writers. And it's really crazy of how they feel comfortable being so unprofessional and showing how biased they are towards something. But yeah, I just don't like this implication and trying to say that, again, she's not in love with Diana as a positive thing. She's in love with who Diana is, as in she wants her power. She wants Diana's fame, or, she wants that.
She wants to be blessed by the gods like Diana is.
Yes. And the thing is, the cheetah was a spirit, and
Mm-hmm.
it because of Barbara's jealousy and envy, that is what corrupted the cheetah. It wasn't the cheetah that corrupted Barbara. And that's the thing that's so twisted to me. It's kind of like how the Superman fans twist Superman as in, oh, he's really Clark Kent, and Superman or Cal is fake. No. How are you mental gymnasticking this in such a backwards way?
Try as they might, Britt. Try as they might. But yeah, it's like the minute. See, here's the thing: with Gail Simone and Greg Ruck and stuff. The minute you stop denigrating Diana for your relationships, then you can have an opinion.
Yeah. I yeah, with Rucka, I don't trust him writing Diana at all because everything has been, you know, his own headcanon and the revisionisms of everything. Even
Also
with
add
Io.
to also add to the fact that apparently Rucka is incapable of writing straight women.
Yeah, that too.
Like again, it's like with the Lois Lane book. it's like it starts out being a Lois Lane book, then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, it turns into a Renee Montoya book because he would rather write Renee Montoya.
True.
And I'm just like, bro, just stop it and write what you are assigned.
He can't. He is very well, he did call himself a spiritual lesbian too.
Yeah, I'm like, I get what you're going for with that, but it's like when that starts to like interfere with your ability to write good stories, that's a problem.
Exactly.
But anyway, so and by NJ says in reference to Jimenez when he self-inserted with Donna and her father. Yeah, exactly. See, that's the thing. All these people that have like renowned Wonder Woman runs actually look into what they say, guys.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, instead of blindly like accepting, what they say, you have to do your own research because they some of these fans just attach themselves to what a writer says, and it's like they want validation for their headcanons, and some of these headcanons are so much worse. You think that, oh, what I believe for this character is better and that's good and that everyone likes it. No, that's not how it is. And especially in how you've said it, Jared, is that, with corporate and how they're supposed to market these characters. Again, they're supposed to be global characters. We see how marketing Superman as just an American character, an American hero, has hurt him. So, no, you don't want to limit these characters into one thing. They have to be universally reached.
Yeah, exactly. And here's the thing about that, because I've seen people say, and because one of the reasons why they'll never acknowledge Diana as bi is because that limits the places where they can launch their movies. And I'm sorry if your answer to that is I don't care, then you're thinking more about your ship and not about the health and like spread of the character, if you will. Like, I'm sorry, that's just the way that works.
Right. I mean, I don't know. I just, as I said, it's not an I told you so, but I told you so of not wanting Rucka to come back to writing Wonder Woman.
hmm Well, it certainly was for me, Britt, because remember, I was first like, okay, I think you could do a good job. And then immediately after I hear this, I'm like, nope, keep him away.
Yes. This is why I'm not trying to be pessimistic or, anything like that. It's just, I see the pattern of certain writers and just the way that they move is very snaky. So you have to take that into consideration as maybe this is a big red flag.
Oh, trust me. Eventually, I'll get through to you, Britt. I know I'll get through to you. Anyway, I think that's a good place to leave it. So, Britt, what stories do you want to tease us with?
Okay, so a lot. um,
Yeah.
let's go down this list. So we have Twist of Fate. The last chapter again is almost done.
Finally.
Um, yeah, yeah. Shady. So we also have Awakened Desires last chapter and epilogue. Very much an open-ended epilogue, hinting that I might have a part two of that story.
For the plot, right?
It does have a plot, so with some um razzle dazzle in it. So, uh, then we have the fourth chapter of Shelter, which is again holiday season. So it will holiday season inspired. Oh, so that will be that, and then we have Odyssey chapter 3 going into the family drama. I really love this is still my number one story. I would say that part 3 of Shelter is well, I would say that's neck and neck because having the drama and writing Clark and Diana's relationship in such like putting them through the ringer really it really shows the potential of their relationship and what you can do with them. You know, of course we control the story and we want them to be together at the end, but at the same time you still want to have that moment where wait, can they actually work, you know? So it's really really fun to explore that, you know, way of about their relationship and putting them back and trying to help them um, go through this long journey. And especially when they have kids, it's very difficult when there's kids involved because you have to deal with, you know, and explore their emotions too.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
Another thing is that we surpassed 70K last week, but now we're at 70.4, close to point 0.5
Hmm.
within, well, actually less than a week. So, yeah, for anyone again saying that Superman and Wonder Woman isn't a relationship like, I
Cameron,
would say,
Cameron, Cameron. Brit is finally updating. Say it ain't so.
you know what, personal life, you know, I do have a lot of things to do.
She does, but I
So,
just love how everyone's adapted my shadiness.
yes, everyone is shading me. I do get messages. It's kind of like, okay, are you gonna update? Yes, I'm trying to. It's going to be sporadic. I'm gonna let you know that now because of, you know, being
Hmm?
very busy.
Yeah.
But I would say that the it's very much worth the wait, especially because I have long chapters too. So you are going to get a lot of quality of, you know, the stories. Um, so yeah, so I do appreciate the patience with me though.
Hmm. Well, of course, because and you provide something so good, like because I'll tell you right now, you are an incredible writer.
Thank you.
So when you deliver it, it's like, yeah, it's worth the wait. It's worth the wait. And trust me, Britt and I have some Shelterverse plans that's gonna blow your mind.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
Yeah, and Cameron brings up quality over quantity is the way to go. There you go. See,
Yes, it is.
there you go. There you go. So what else you got? Or is that it?
Um, so yeah, I was just saying that the Instagram is climbing up in followers. A lot of um, so if anyone says no one liked this pairing, I mean, I don't know who over 70,000 people are then.
Hmm.
You know, I don't know who, I guess that is the nobody. I don't know. But it just shows that whether it's Twitter, that Bird app, or Reddit, you know, I wouldn't even say comic forums anymore because or message boards because it's like tumbleweeds, you know, in those message boards now. But
Hmm.
any of those social sites, even TikTok, because DC TikTok very much they get their information from Wikipedia, and you know people can change Wikipedia or they just like make up stuff and think that it's and believe that it's canon or within the story. I saw Donna fans having a fit because there are a certain subset that thinks that Donna was with Jason, Red
Ha!
Hood. And so yeah,
Uh,
it's kind of like they might be fans of the character, but they don't know the character. So
they're
anytime
getting her
someone,
confused with Artemis, which even in the comics, Artemis wasn't really dating Jason.
yeah, and also Artemis is, I mean, she has a red hair. So how can you get that confused? But yeah, anybody who's saying that this pairing is bad or whatever, no, it's an exaggeration because just because you don't like the pairing doesn't mean no one else agree you know, everyone agrees with you. And again, obviously with whatever we're doing, people are enjoying the pairing and people are still gravitating towards the pairing. So it's always, we try to be positive. Yeah, we criticize a lot of things, but the positiveness is still, shines through.
Yeah, and that's the important thing. That's the important. Also, NJ says TikTok is the worst. Yes, TikTok is the worst for a lot of different
It is.
reasons. For a lot of
It
different
is.
reasons. Yeah, exactly.
You can
And
get good recipes from TikTok, but that's
that's
pretty
true.
much it.
That's true. And I would like to say that we are 2 months away from the launch of my comic. More on that as the weeks proceed. We may even do some content about it. So be on the lookout for that. Is that it? Are you done, Britt?
Yes, I'm done.
Okay. Stay at work, everyone. Remember, Lois Lane is Lois Lame. She belongs to General Zod, or what? Well, in reality, Lois is a horseman of the apocalypse. So there you go.
Oh, wow.
Should be death. I think should be death because she is the death of a franchise. Zoe is the Maximat for life. Oh, and Steve Trevor would be famine because he takes away all of the energy from the Wonder Woman comics. So stay at work, everyone. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.